Yeah, so part of my routine on like Sundays when I was super hungover after binging all weekend, I would like lay there on YouTube and just look for inspiring stories or ways to overcome this issue. And one Sunday morning, I stumbled across this TEDx talk, which is still on YouTube. It's called How I Overcame Alcoholism by Claudia Christian.
Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm Tenya, your host, and today I have with me Katie. Katie, welcome.
Thank you. So glad to be here with you, Tenya.
There is a lot of hubbub, at least coming across my social media, about alcohol and drinking and the ramifications of it, the good things about it. You know, having red wine is good for your heart, and having this is not good for your heart. And so it's very confusing. But I did read an article that actually said that the alcohol consumption is actually starting to decrease, which is very, very cool. Like, I know from reading your bio, that you no longer partake, and it was just kind of naturally happened after going through your story and your transformation, which was what happened with me. Was it was just a natural progression of healing and not gravitating towards something that was self-medicating.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're right that it's on social media. It's interesting to see that, I hear that a lot of younger people are drinking a lot less. But on the other side of that, I guess I could say I work in this field and I still see there's so many people that are struggling with alcohol use disorder. And it's interesting, a stat I saw from the CDC a couple of years ago, I guess it's still accurate. It said 1 in 3 Americans drinks excessively. So it's not like this typical, under the bridge alcoholic drinking out
Right.
of a brown paper bag. It's this
Right.
spectrum of what we call, I guess, gray area drinking or alcohol use disorder, where, they're probably totally functional. Nobody in their life really knows, but they're drinking a lot. And those are kind of the people that I see and that I work with. For me personally, I had a problem with alcohol for 10 years, tried so many times to quit, to cut back, and just couldn't. It just seemed to be getting worse. Now, in hindsight, I know it's because I was craving alcohol. I had this mental preoccupation. When I wasn't drinking, I was thinking about drinking. And when I was drinking, I was binge drinking. So I didn't have this like balance with alcohol, which is what I really wanted. Because to your point, what you said, like some alcohol in moderation may be beneficial for the health, though articles will say that no amount of alcohol is
Right.
safe. So in my view, like I'm kind of take the stance that alcohol is not the problem. It's the
Right.
excessive drinking that's the problem that gets people
Yeah.
in trouble. Um, so yeah, but with that said, I no longer drink today, and it was a result of going through a treatment protocol that it's been around for over 30 years. Nobody really knows about it still, unfortunately, that works to heal the brain of
Mhm.
alcohol dependence. And for me, I started the treatment while I was still drinking, and over the course of the year, just kind of gradually fell out of love with alcohol and got to a place where I tell people I would forget to drink. It just didn't occur to me anymore. And this was coming from someone who was a daily binge drinker for nearly 10 years.
Wow. And at what point can you take us back to, like, right before you realized that there was something that needed to be done? Like where were you in your story at that point? And what steps did you take to find out about this? Because much like anybody else who gets into the line of work of helping somebody, it usually comes from a place of having been there.
Yeah.
So take us to that point where right before you decided that something needed to change. What was that turning point?
Honestly, I think there were several. You would hear that, oh, if you hit a rock bottom, then you'll want to change. And there's this funny meme that goes around the internet where it's like, I hit that rock bottom, but like there's a lot more left to go. Like there's a lot more rock bottoms,
More
I'm not
rocks.
like dead yet. So I kept hitting these like rock bottoms, but then I would think, okay, this is it. I'm going to quit today. Like this is the thing. Health scares, winding up in the hospital, almost getting a DUI, doing very regretful things to people that I loved, just all of these things. And I would wake up the next day fully committed that I was quitting drinking. And it would last maybe a couple days, couple weeks. I made it 6 months one time, but I would eventually return to drinking again. And it wasn't because like a lack of desire. I sincerely wanted to overcome this issue. But what I've since learned, and maybe we can talk about this, is that when we drink too much, it's not a logical issue. And a lot of us wake up, think, okay, I'm done. It's destroying my life. Like I have a good family, a good career. Why am I doing this to myself? So we kind of beat ourselves up logically. But the part of the brain that's driving the compulsive use of alcohol is not logical. It's more of like a primitive, almost a need for it for survival, like where we need food and water. We can't logically be like, okay, I'm not going to eat anymore. We get
Right.
really hungry after a while. And it's not the exact same, but something similar is happening in the brain when we try to quit drinking and we're addicted to it. We just end up thinking about it a lot. So for me, I had a lot of moments where I was fed up with my drinking for years and would sincerely try to quit and would have health scares and life scares and just do risky things that would leave me in a feeling of shame and regret. And I thought that that would kind of motivate me to quit. And it didn't. And I should go back. Like I first realized I had a drinking problem. I drank basically my entire 20s. That whole decade was when I had a problem.
Well, it was pretty normal. I say normal because when we're in our 20s, we're allowed to legally drink,
mm,
right? And so we can go out and we can have fun, and that's what the commercials always showed us, was that going out and partying and drinking alcohol is what makes things fun.
yeah. And I remember that was kind of how I justified it because I originally, when I turned 21, I didn't really care for drinking. I wasn't like the person who wanted to go out and get drunk necessarily, but my brain learned to like alcohol pretty quickly because I was starting to drink a lot more at that age. And I was like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. I was kind of naive to the fact that alcohol was very addictive. And just by repeatedly drinking it, especially to excess, I was kind of priming my brain to get addicted to it. So I saw it as a phase. I'll outgrow this in a couple years when I'm more focused on my family or career. But then those couple years went by and it was worse than it had ever been. And I couldn't get out of it, which was scary. That's the moment I really realized like, okay, this isn't just a phase. Like this is a real problem. And that's when I started years of trying to kind of find different ways
Mhm.
to figure this out, get over it.
Yeah, and had you seeked out help from doctors prior to you finding the avenue that you, because I don't want to spoil it,
Yeah.
but to taking the avenue that you did.
I had been seeking out help, not necessarily from doctors, because at the time, truthfully, I didn't really see it as a medical issue.
Okay.
You know, I kind of saw it as more of like how kind of like AA teaches it, though I only went to a couple of AA meetings. I never fully plugged into that program. It just didn't feel aligned to me, even
Hmm.
though my dad used it. He's sober because of it. I kind of saw it as a character issue. Like I'm weak. I don't have good discipline. And maybe if I have a personal breakthrough, like an aha moment about something that's wrong with me, then I just simply won't want to drink anymore. So I was kind of approaching it from that perspective. Diving into a lot of different spirituality work, going on personal retreats, trying different cleanses, different diets. I heard that a ketogenic diet could help with alcohol cravings. I did that for a while. It may have helped. I don't know. I would still drink a lot. I would just drink like hard alcohol because it was low carb. So I tried a lot of different avenues in that way. I would watch hours and hours of content of people online who quit drinking and would tell their testimonies. And the thing that was always missing for me was like the how. Like, okay,
Right.
you have this amazing story. It's so inspiring. You quit drinking, but like, how did you quit drinking? Because I am trying to quit and I can't stay quit. Like I
Mhm.
remember thinking like, oh well, if I get cancer and die young because of my drinking, so be it. I would rather drink than have to force sobriety the rest of my life. Like that's how deep I was in this pit of, alcohol
Right.
addiction.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Because sobriety just to you it just sounded like really hard to do. And that comes with any addiction.
Yeah.
That comes with quitting smoking or pot or, cocaine. I'm sure that comes with anything is that when you don't have that blanket to cover up what it is that's going on, then you tend to just keep wanting to cover up.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I would call alcohol like my warm, cozy blanket that I
Oh,
would just wrap myself in every day. And even though I knew it was destructive, like I was literally addicted to it. And
yeah.
so a thought of life without it, I remember every time I thought about that, I just pictured like this big gray cloud. I was like, that sounds like a horrible life because Andrew Huberman has this amazing quote that defines addiction, where he says, an addiction is a gradual narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. And I just think that so correctly describes what was happening for me, where alcohol was really the only thing in my life that brought me any pleasure. I learned that over time, brought me a lot of destruction too and shame, but like, man, those first few drinks were just
Yeah.
like the highlight of my day.
It's like that first sip of morning coffee.
Yes.
But both can be harmful in excess.
Yep.
So you you hit your proverbial rock bottom and you're doing all this research, and what do you find?
Yeah, so part of my routine on like Sundays when I was super hungover after binging all weekend, I would like lay there on YouTube and just look for inspiring stories or ways to overcome this issue. And one Sunday morning, I stumbled across this TEDx talk, which is still on YouTube. It's called How I Overcame Alcoholism by Claudia Christian. And it's about 15 minutes. And she talks about her struggle with alcohol and how this brain-based treatment helped her heal after she'd gone to rehabs and tried quitting. And for those that don't know, she's like a actress. She's still acting today, but she was like really big in the 80s, 90s, I think, doing movies and sci-fi and stuff. And so she kind of like self-destructed with her drinking, somewhat with her career, and what it really was like destroying her life. And so she talked about this treatment, and the way she described her drinking just like so perfectly spoke to my struggle of feeling like I'm, at a dinner party and everyone's drinking coffee and I'm still like quaffing wine in the corner and wondering why everyone else doesn't want to drink like I do, kind of thing. She talked
Right.
about that, and it just so it spoke to me because it was so much true to my experience as well. And so she talked about this treatment. It's called the Sinclair Method, named after the researcher who discovered it, Dr. David Sinclair. He researched it back in the 90s. The research still exists today. It's still being researched today. And it works in the brain to heal the brain of an alcohol addiction. And what I didn't know at the time, which I really understand now, is that, that is the root issue of why we overdrink. There can be trauma and things too,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
the reason why we turn to alcohol is because our brain learns to like the pleasure from it. It's extremely rewarding for the brain. Any addictive substances, it just floods your brain immediately with endorphins and feel good chemicals, dopamine, things like that. And so when you do that repeatedly, the brain literally changes and then it starts to seek out that substance all the time, which is why it's so hard for people to quit, because we're just constantly looking for that hit from that substance. And
Mhm.
when we stop using it, the desire for it actually increases. It's called the alcohol deprivation effect. So you think, okay, I'm going to quit drinking, but that doesn't get rid of the desire. And so you just want to drink more. And then people often go back to it. So this treatment works to essentially reverse the wiring in the brain that has been driving the compulsive drinking. And it's not an instant fix, but I today still consider it a miracle that changed my life.
That's and I wonder why this method isn't more well known.
There's,
This is the first time I've heard about it.
yeah, that's what a lot of people say. That was a question I asked. I get that question all the time as well. And there's a few reasons for it that I've kind of learned over the years. Number one, part of this treatment involves using a generic medicine that you take actually before drinking. So that's something that's unique about this treatment. It's not an abstinence-based treatment. You
Mhm.
actually start it while you're still drinking.
Mhm.
And you take this medicine before you drink. It's called naltrexone, And what it's doing is it's kind of muting the rewarding effects from alcohol. So it doesn't make you sick like and abuse or make drinking this terrible experience. It just makes it a little less rewarding. And so when you do that, when you take the medicine and drink on it over and over again, your brain learns, I'm doing the behavior of drinking, but I'm not getting the same reward. And so the motivation for it decreases.
Okay.
And so that's part of the reason that this treatment isn't well known is because that medicine you take is generic. It's cheap. It needs a prescription, but it's been around since before this treatment, since the 80s, I think. And so there's not a pharmaceutical company out there like marketing it and doing commercials for it because there's no money to
Okay.
be made because it's cheap and generic. Another reason is the 12-step, the treatment industry, like any rehab center, the majority of them are 12-step based. And in 12-step, it's not really encouraged to use medication for alcohol recovery. So rehab centers who you like are the main treatment providers haven't really embraced this medication at all.
Hmm.
They are more so now, but more so to take it to help people stay sober because it does help with cravings to some extent.
Okay.
And then the third thing is kind of correlated to that, where this treatment is not abstinence based, and the whole treatment industry is set up as an
Right.
abstinence
Be
base. You
absent.
have to
Right.
quit.
Right.
Yeah, you have to quit drinking. That's kind of step the beginning.
Right.
And this treatment is not abstinence
Yeah.
based, so the current system just doesn't support it. So those are some reasons why.
It really just boggles my mind that we have so many people that do struggle with alcoholism or there's alcoholism in their families
Mhm.
that could really use this information, and yet it seems to be being gate kept.
Yeah,
It's kind of like we can't tell the people who actually need it that this would be helpful because of whatever reason,
yeah.
money, who knows. But um I think it's great that you are using these platforms to let other people know that this program is out there. How so so you went through taking the medication. How long, and this goes back to you saying that like you didn't know the how. Like you had all this information and people nobody was telling you the how. So
Yeah,
can we discuss the how for a few minutes?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
so
started, oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was say so you started taking it.
Yes, I started taking it. So first of all, I learned about it through that TEDx talk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of this. This seems too good to be true, but I have to give it a try. So that was in July of 2017. And I thought it would just be easy to like call up my doctor and get a prescription to this medicine. I did research. It's not addictive. It's generic. It's been around for decades. Like, cool. I'll just call the doctor and ask for a prescription. And nobody would prescribe it to me. Like that was my first
Wow.
introduction to it.
So what is the medication, what is it marketed to do outside of getting off of alcohol?
So it's been approved by the FDA for alcohol addiction since 1994. So it's an
Okay.
approved medication.
Okay.
Before that, it's still used today for opiate addiction as well because it's an opiate blocker. So if someone's addicted to opiates and they're taking this medication, if they take an opiate, they won't get the effect from it. They won't get the high feeling.
Hmm.
So it's
Right.
basically pointless. So it
Right.
works for opiates as well. Works for alcohol. It's even being researched for other behavioral addictions like porn addiction, gambling, binge eating, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my first introduction to it was I couldn't get a prescription. And unfortunately, this can be common because general doctors are not trained in treating addiction typically, or they get very little training in school. And so they just don't feel comfortable treating it in any way. And they refer people out to AA. A lot of doctors too, they just don't know about this medicine. They don't know how to prescribe it, what to expect with it. So I was kind of new to my area at the time. And so I didn't have like a main primary doctor. So that day I like called the day I was researching, I called multiple doctors.
Can I get
Hey,
an appointment, please?
yeah, can I get an appointment? Would you be willing to talk to me about this medication? And I called
Right.
5 places. None of them would. They all wanted
Wow.
me to go to inpatient rehab.
And
Eh,
online doctors were not a thing in 2017. So it's not like
No,
you could do telehealth like you can now.
well, that was actually how I first got the prescription was through a telehealth doctor who I stumbled upon in internet research,
Oh,
just like
okay, good.
looking for doctors. But you're right. At that time, it was so rare. I remember making an appointment. I was like, she's going to meet with me online. Like, what? This is weird. And so I ended up getting it that way. And she did know about it and she'd been treating people with it. So I
Mhm.
finally got the prescription that way. And today in 2026, there are more doctors that
Yeah.
prescribe it and are aware of it. Like a lot has changed in almost 10 years. But I still get stories of people who go to their doctor and their doctor will not prescribe it. So if
Yeah.
that happens to
Yeah.
you, don't feel bad.
Keep,
It's not
right.
you.
Keep looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep looking.
I tell everybody all the time, you have to take your health into your own hands. Don't just take what the doctor says for face
Yeah.
value because, they may go to school for 8 years, but as we well know, they don't get much training in nutrition,
Yeah.
addiction, you know, the more centralized specialty things that comes with being a family practitioner.
Yeah. And even though, just aside, like even those doctors that are specialized in addiction medicine, sometimes, and I've seen this through conferences I've gone to and just people I've talked to over the years, sometimes doctors have a bias. Like I remember meeting this doctor at a conference. And I asked him, I was like, why do you think he's an addiction specialist in California? I was like, why do you think naltrexone hasn't gained more traction to help people drink less? He's like, we just believe abstinence is best. And he walked away. Like he just was not open to hearing anything about this, even though I was like pouring out my heart. I'm like, this
Right.
changed my life. I've seen it help
Right.
so many people. He was just firm that abstinence is best. He wasn't open to
Yeah.
like your Chantix experience. Like, oh, you can start this while you're still drinking, and maybe that'll lead to abstinence like it does for a lot of people. Or it can lead to, hey, I'm going to have wine on a Friday night and it's not going to be a big deal. I'm going to have one
Right.
glass.
Right.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
I took the, oh, sorry.
No, as I say, it just people are going to have the beliefs that they're going to hold on to, and sometimes you just can't change their minds.
Yeah.
And so you keep moving on until you find one that aligns with your belief system, with your values, and that's what you found in this doctor online.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you said you have to take your health into your own hands. And it can be intimidating when we're struggling with alcohol. There is this shame component that goes
Yeah.
with it. So if you ask your doctor, maybe it's your first time talking about it, that you have this problem and they tell you no, you just feel crushed. That's how I felt. So yeah, but there are doctors out there that understand this treatment and how effective it is. And yeah, we'll work with you on it.
Yeah. So
So
you get it.
yeah, I get it. I got it in July of 2017. And within the first week of the treatment, I knew something was different. I started it as a daily drinker. So I took the medicine, had my usual drinking routine, and I was like, something feels different. Like, is this a placebo effect? I don't know, but I could just tell I was drinking more slowly. I wasn't chasing that buzz as much. Usually I would like gulp wine and just drink, finish off a bottle, open up another one, and I was going more slowly. And I was like, I'm not in this rush to keep getting drunk. And so within the first week, I noticed my drinking was a little bit less. And I noticed my craving, my thoughts about alcohol were a little bit less, to where I was able to have an alcohol-free day, like one day without drinking, which was huge for me. Usually that never happened unless I was like deathly hungover in bed or something. And I just had this day, I was like, I don't really feel like drinking today. I guess I'm not going to drink. Like it was the most bizarre feeling. I didn't know what to do with myself. And then that progressed from there. And I have to say, like this treatment, as I mentioned, it's not an overnight fix. It's not a quick fix, but over time, kind of like a weight loss journey, how like, it's best to lose like a pound a week, go at it
Mhm.
slowly. And, in six
Right.
months or a year, it really adds up. That's how this treatment worked for me, where week by week, month by month, I was just drinking a little bit less. I was having a little more alcohol-free time and just seeing myself get more control over alcohol, like being able to go out and have 2 glasses of wine and stop and not feel the need to go home and open up a bottle and keep drinking till 1 a.m. like I usually did. I just saw myself get this control over alcohol again, not because I was like forcing it or saying, okay, I can only have 2 drinks. It was literally me having 2 drinks and being like, yeah, I'm satisfied. I don't want any more than that. And that progressed for me. At about 8 months on the treatment, I was drinking like 1 glass of wine once a month, like going out to a nice dinner with my husband and having a glass of wine with it. And that was it. And then after about a year on the treatment, I ended up quitting drinking. I tell people by accident because I was so uninterested in alcohol. I went 4 months without drinking, not trying. I just get month after month. I'm not drinking. This is
Hmm.
so weird. And by the way, with the treatment, the medication, I was only taking it when I was drinking. I was pairing it with the alcohol. So toward the end of the treatment, I wasn't really even taking
Right.
naltrexone anymore.
Right. Right.
Um, so then after 4 months of not drinking, I was like, well, maybe I'm just not drinking anymore. And that was in 2018, the end of 2018. So I haven't
Okay.
drank since then. I can drink if I want to. If I wanted to have wine tonight, I would just
Right.
take naltrexone before. But I have no interest in it, which is, it's amazing to have no craving, no desire, no compulsion, and then also at the same time have the option to drink. It's not like this forbidden fruit that I can
Right.
never touch again. If I want to
Right.
drink, I can. I just don't want to, which is
Right.
wild.
And that has to be pretty empowering. Like you said, it was you're able to control it now because you have control. The alcohol no longer has that control over you. You now have control over it.
Yep. And that's a paradigm shift because, I work with a lot of people who've been in AA or dabbled in it. And in that program, you believe you're powerless over
Mhm.
alcohol. And this treatment,
Yeah.
like you said, it empowers you over it to where you truly get your control back. And yeah, it's an incredibly freeing and empowering way to know, like, I'm not powerless over a substance. And to me, that never resonated with me. I'm like, how can I be powerless over like a drink? That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what our subconscious and our conscious mind tend to believe over time,
Yeah.
based off of what other people have told us. Um,
Yeah.
I would have thought that programs like that would want to empower you and say it doesn't have control over you. Don't let it have control over you. Um, yeah, I didn't know that part. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go through AA to any extent, like long term, but I've just heard stories
Yeah.
where, the impression I get is that it can breed a lot of shame in people. And if you mess up one time, like you're kind of back to square one again. It doesn't deal with the craving. So you're kind of expected just to like white knuckle and will yourself through sobriety, which it works for some people. Like I said,
It
my
does.
dad
It
used it.
does.
So
AA, yeah, we're not poo-pooing on AA.
no,
It's a great program for many people. I don't think that it's the program that obviously you and I would gravitate towards
yeah.
being that
It's not a
it
one size fits all. Yeah.
no.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge. And like I've talked about this for years, and I've just heard a lot of comments from people who really, really believe that AA is the only way. Like I get comments like, "There's a seat waiting for you in AA. Like you're gonna relapse." Like these are the people like think I'm gonna relapse and I need to go to AA
Oh,
because I
why do
didn't,
people say that?
because they really
Stop.
believe it's the only way. So, and that's where people get stuck
Yeah.
because I work with people, they've been in AA for 20 years and they keep relapsing. They're
Yeah.
not doing better. They're struggling. And then they come to this treatment and it changes their life. And so, just for people to know, if you're in AA and it's not working, there's other options. If you're in AA and it's working, great, stay there. But just don't, it's not the only option.
Right. Yeah, I would get that a lot with talking to people about energy work and anxiety and depression is that, it's not therapy. You need to see a talk therapist. You need to be on medication. It's like it's not the only way. That's great stuff, but there's different modalities for different people for a reason because
Yeah,
it is not one size fits all. So
absolutely.
you're now helping people to go down this pathway. And
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah. So we talked about the treatment and how it involves using a medication. Something I was kind of humbled by a few months in was that it was more than just taking a pill to drink less. Like that's kind of how I started it. Cool, this pill's gonna help me drink less. But
Well, yeah,
as I
yeah. That's how I would go into it.
yeah, and believe me, it did. But what happened for me is I became less numb from the alcohol and wasn't
Yeah.
drinking as much. All this stuff came to the surface because I'd spent 10 years of my life drinking every day. Like that's the life I was living. And so all these habits I had to change. I had to find new coping skills. I had to leave a job that was very destructive. I had to end relationships that
Yeah.
weren't healthy. So there was more to it. Like it kind of was opening a can of worms in the best way possible, where I was like, oh my gosh, my life was built from a foundation of alcohol addiction. There's a lot to fix here.
Mhm.
but it was gradual and gentle, which I loved. Like I was gradually drinking less and gradually changing my life. But that was humbling for me because when I realized that a few months into the treatment, I started to seek out help and therapy because I didn't realize how much alcohol had like gotten its tentacles in all areas
Right.
of my life. So that like moment always stuck with me and it led me into coaching people because, to have support on the protocol is super helpful. I've been making videos online about the treatment for a long time, just advocating for it, sharing my story. And then that led me now to several years ago, kind of launching a formal online program that specializes in this treatment protocol where people are using the medication to drink less. And then we provide them access to coaching and guidance and personalized support to help them, what we say, like meet the medicine halfway to, gradually change their habits
Right.
and lifestyle and cultivate a life that isn't, revolving so much around alcohol. And that's Thrive Alcohol Recovery, which is my organization.
That's beautiful. I love that you are pairing it with real life things that they can do to further their recovery, but
Yeah.
to really show that they can thrive in this new life, that it's not going to be, um, well, it may be difficult in some instances because, like you said, when you're not numbing anymore, all that stuff comes up
Yeah.
that you were numbing to begin with. And giving them those tools so that they can thrive in this new life
Yeah.
is so it's so needed. And I think
Yeah.
that's where traditional things fall short is they say, okay, this is your program. We'll see ya.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, applying because alcohol, when we drink a lot, even if you're not a daily drinker like me, it touches so many areas of our lives and it's
Yeah.
intertwined with our identity and who we see ourselves as, what we do with our free time, how we look at life. So just to kind of, have that in mind as people are, progressing on the treatment protocol. And something I love about our program is the majority of coaches we have in our program have done the treatment themselves and are now certified to coach others in it. So it's like you can learn from people who have the lived experience and they're not just speaking from like a clinical perspective. It's like they've walked in a really similar path and are now on the other side. Which I think is something that's really beautiful about AA. Like you really get to connect with people who really
Yeah.
understand what you've been
What
going
you're going
through.
through. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah, having that, and that's why I do the show is because I want people to see that they're not alone and there are resources out there. You just need to be able to hear where they're at.
Yeah.
That they're not always going to come across your Facebook or your Instagram feed if that's not within your algorithm.
Yeah. It's and just to understand too, like alcohol use disorder can impact anyone. Like I've worked with thousands of people since 2017, 2018 through this treatment. And 99.9% of the time, looking at them through Zoom, you would never know they're struggling. They have a successful life, a beautiful family, but
Yeah.
they're drinking 2, 3 bottles of wine a day or a fifth of vodka or whatever their pattern is. And so this is a disorder that impacts almost anybody and it's often held in secret because there's so much shame around it.
Mhm.
And so I want people to know that it's not a reflection of who you are as a person. It's just something that happens when you repeatedly drink. Like you can learn this disorder and it can happen to anyone. And it's quite treatable today with, treatments like naltrexone and the Sinclair method. You're not stuck there.
Right. I think that's awesome. That's really cool. Katie, as we tie up this conversation, um, aside from where people can find you, because I'll definitely have you say that, but is there anything else that you want the listeners to know or to hear that we did not touch on?
Um, I just think whether you're struggling with alcohol or any other substance or behavioral addiction, there's so many more treatments available today that are not yet mainstream. And I just encourage people to do your research. And if you're trying one treatment, whether it's therapy or whatever, or going to a doctor or whatever it is, if you don't feel like it's working, just keep looking for another treatment because there's so many amazing technologies and resources and treatments that are coming out today for all kinds of issues, and you don't have to stay stuck where you are. So, like you kind of touched on earlier, take your health into your own hands, be your own advocate. I mean, I had to, my sixth doctor that I asked for naltrexone finally gave it to me. So that was a lot of no's and a lot of shame, a lot of uncomfortable conversations. So, but just keep fighting for yourself. Just because someone's in a white coat or has a letters in front of or behind their name doesn't mean they know best. Like, you know best what you need. So be your own advocate for sure.
Beautiful. And where can they find you if this is a program that they think is good for them?
Yes. So I run Thrive Alcohol Recovery. Website's thrivealcoholrecovery.com. And I'm on all kinds of social media, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Thrive Alcohol Recovery is the handle on most of those. And it's linked on our website too. On our website, we have a lot of free resources just to help you understand, like, what is this method? Is it right for me? Who is it right for? That type of thing. So yeah, you can find us there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Tenya. Great to meet you.
You too. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.